You ever wonder why we tend to focus on negative parts of what we do and less focus on the positive aspects of our accomplishments? I notice this very often when I conduct workshops on negotiation or conflict resolution. That could be in a company setting, it could be in a classroom setting for a master's program. And after the class or after the workshop, after even an activity within the workshop, I ask, okay, what did you do well? And inevitably, the conversation goes to, oh, I should have done this and I should have done that. I could have done it better than I did. I say, okay, and what did you do well? And I have to work really hard to focus people back on the positive aspects. So me being the curious type that I am, I looked up what is that? And it's called negativity bias that science and different people have done research on. And what it says is that it goes all the way back to our ancestral times when we had to really think about survival in a much more physical sense of the word. And so people had to know, is it safe or is it not safe? And so therefore they magnified negative experiences and negative aspects of a situation in order to keep themselves alive. Now, of course, today, safety is still primary. It's still something we have to focus on. Maybe less so in some contexts of physical safety, but very emotional and psychological safety. Absolutely, we need to focus on it. But that doesn't mean we have to do it the same way our ancestors do it. And so I have to think about, well, what else can I help people do to focus on their positive aspects? Because what I do say very often is, you wouldn't be here today doing what you're doing if you have not done something positive in the past to get you where you are. So there are different accomplishments that we've had that we have to pay attention to. This shows up also in negotiations very often. So people sometimes doubt themselves before they go into a situation. And of course, that doesn't bode well in the negotiation itself, because you have to have more confidence. And if you have negative thoughts about your abilities, your competence, your performance, then you're not going to perform as well in the negotiation. And surprisingly enough, in some recent research I've done, and actually it's not very surprising, women tend to have this tendency more than men. So one of the women I interviewed, who's probably mid-career, she's probably had about 20, 25 years of experience. She said to me, if there is a new job, and this is somebody with experience, right? A new job or a promotion potential within the organization I'm working for, I look at the 10 requirements, and if I have 7 of them, I don't apply. And I said, well, why wouldn't you apply? You have 7 out of the 10. That's the majority in my math, right? And she said, because I don't think I'm qualified. She says, but my male counterparts, they can have 5 out of 10 and they go for it. What's that about, right? And so I'm thinking, well, sometimes we magnify, and women tend to magnify the negative parts more than the positive. So we can sit here and say, oh yes, well, we shouldn't do that. We should do this, we should do that. And I'm not into the shoulds. I really want to focus on, okay, then how? How are we going to do it? What are some practical steps that you can take that will get you to focus more on the positive? And it's very quick that we don't remember the positive things that we accomplished, but we're very quick to remember the negative. And sometimes they just fester and we keep bringing them back and bringing them back. So for example, if I get evaluations on a workshop or a course, I can have 20 glowing comments, but the one comment that's not glowing and maybe leans negative, I'm thinking, why? Why did they say that? Who said it? How can I make that better? So even though I'm not a perfectionist, I'm not looking for the negative comments. I want them all to be positive. Here are some very practical steps you can do to rewire your brain, because that's what it takes. In our brains, we have certain patterns of behavior that's already embedded and engraved in our brain. So it's actually physical structural change that we're talking about here that also relate to our habits in changing the way we are, how we think, and so on. So we want to rewire our brain and build up the parts that really focus on our positive accomplishments, because that will give us confidence to go forward, to engage in negotiations, to engage in challenging ourselves more than we might have if we didn't think positively of ourselves. So one particular approach that I take is something called CMM, Coordinated Management of Meaning. It was started in the 1970s by Barnett Pierce and Vernon Cronin, and it really is many different things, and I'm not going to go into the whole theory about what it is. It's a practical theory, which of course I like, and it really talks about how we create the worlds in which we live. Very simple, right? Simple and not so simple. We create the worlds in which we live, which for me is very empowering. It shows that if I had the ability to create the world I'm in, then I can also apply my agency to create a different world if I'm not happy with the way things are going. Now, it doesn't happen overnight. It is a practice, and it involves many different things, including rewiring our brain. So I'll talk about two particular models within CMM that are helpful, that I find helpful and people who I've worked with have found helpful, to deconstruct the patterns of behavior that we have that leave us leaning towards focusing on negative and less so on positive. So one of them is called the Daisy model, and it is exactly the way it sounds. It's a daisy. It's modeled on an actual flower where there's a gold center and the white petals all around it. And there can be layers of petals all around the center as well. In the center of the daisy is what it is we want to focus on. And we call this a speech act in technical terms, but let's just say I'm thinking about applying for a new job. I'm thinking about maybe applying for a promotion or something in a different company altogether. So I look at the qualifications and I think, I don't know. Let me focus on, and in the middle I would write down Beth's past achievements, Beth's past accomplishments. Let's say my recent performance review. What have I done well? What have I been complimented on? Maybe what awards have I won? What recognition have I received that show that I have competence and ability to do different things? Now, if we don't have the habit of remembering or focusing on anything positive, it's going to be a little bit challenging, but let's just start with one petal on the daisy. One petal. Okay, well, last year, a client I worked with was satisfied with my work and wanted me to come back and do more workshops with their clients. That's very positive. It's repeat business. It means that the client was satisfied with the outcomes of what happened in the workshop. And not only that they were satisfied, they want me to do more. So that's a positive accomplishment. So you take the speech act and you can put anything you want in the middle there. And then on the petals around the speech act that you want to focus on, you write individual accomplishments or individual influencers or something like that. If somebody said something to you that was very flattering, I really like the way you do that. Okay, what is it you like about it? Well, I really like that you're very strategic in your thinking. You really plan things out. And then once you have that strategy, then you're able to go back to the strategy all the time and find out which direction to take. That's a compliment, right? You're strategic in your thinking. You put that down on a petal. Whatever it is that you need. Now, if you have a particular negotiation coming up, then you want to know, what have I done in the past that has been an accomplishment in terms of my skill set for negotiation, even if I didn't achieve the outcomes I wanted for my last negotiation. Well, you know what? I always put on one petal the fact that I showed up. The fact that I showed up and had the courage to do that is really important. To me, it's very important. I think it should be important to you too. So on one petal, right away you have a petal. I showed up, right? Another petal, I prepared. How did you prepare? Well, you might want to be more specific about what you did in preparation. One of those preparation activities could have been that I really thought about what's most critical to me to accomplish in this negotiation. Another could be, I really thought about what is probably critical to the person I'm negotiating with. And then I thought about, what are the issues that we're negotiating? What are our goals and so on? What's our relationship? So I start to focus on different parts there, and I put those on different petals. And before I know it, I have 4, 5, 6 petals already filled up. All of those are positive things that I've done in the past. That is encouraging. It doesn't mean I'm denying that I have room for improvement. It doesn't mean that I may have done something that wasn't good, wasn't constructive. It just means that for right now, I'm doing a confidence boost. I'm rewiring my brain to focus on the positive things that I've done towards building my muscle of negotiation. Another model from the CMM world, coordinated management of meaning, and by the way, there is a website you can look up. The CMM Institute has wonderful information there for you to get more, is something called the Serpentine model. And it's really like a serpentine, like a flowing S kind of a shape. And what you're trying to do now is go back over the different steps you took along the way that led towards your successful outcome. And we can define success in lots of ways, right? So you say, well, I did this, and then this happened, and that person did that, and then this is how I responded. And you're tracking the flow of the negotiation to show where you were at the beginning. And again, you have a goal, you have a way of learning more, and where I ended up. All along the way, I may also make a notation of different things I paid attention to that influenced how I adapted and then continued on with the negotiation. So what you're doing here again is you're going back over the process that you followed to get to the result, and you're focusing on what you did well. It's a whole other activity to focus on what I could have done better, but right now, for the purpose of rewiring our brain and putting down the magnifier to the negative and building up the magnification of the positive aspects of what we've done and do, that's what we want to focus on. So what I would like to happen in the ideal world is that when I finish an activity, when you finish an activity, you say, wow, that worked well for these 5 reasons. Or when I interview women for further research I'm doing in the world of women and negotiation, I would love to hear, you know what? I only had, you're not even saying only had, but I only had 7 out of 10 requirements and I went for it anyway. I figured, you know what? 7 is pretty good, and I can figure out if it's important to the potential employer. If it's important, I can figure out 8, 9, and 10 and work towards achieving that as well. So magnify the positive, reduce the negative, because it is this little balance. You're trying to shift the balance there. And that's how we can rewire our brains, change the physical structure so that we're focused on the positive.